People want stronger relationships, they want stronger communities, and they want their kids to succeed in sports. This podcast is a place for honest conversations, real stories, and practical guidance, all centered on helping kids grow through sports. If you're looking for stronger relationships, stronger community, and athletes who grow not just in skill, but in character, you're in the right place.
CBMS is proud to be a continuing sponsor of YSF. For more than 45 years, we've helped both consumers and their lenders navigate the loan closing process. Our focus on trust and long-term relationships aligns perfectly with everything YSF stands for, and we are honored to support this podcast and YSF's mission for all of our kids.
Welcome, everyone, to From the Sidelines, the Youth Sports Foundation podcast. I'm Jim Miller, founder of the Youth Sports Foundation. And joining me today, as always, is our podcast producer and social media person, Aaron Meyer. Welcome, Aaron. Today, we bring you closer to what YSF looks like on the ground. We're going to be joined by Joe Payne, who is a regional director, coach, a father. And he's here to talk about how YSF is showing up in the communities in the field and even in his hometown. Joe is the regional director for several of our conferences, which some of you may have him as your regional director. He is regional director for the Eagle Bluff, Southeast, Skunk, East Central, Hawkeye. So he's got a lot of territory to cover. Joe's been with us for a long time, does an absolute fabulous job for the Youth Sports Foundation. We're excited to bring him on. We thought it'd be cool to bring on one of our regional directors and have them tell about kind of like the inside out of what Youth Sports Foundation does and is doing. And Joe's a great guy, and he's willing to do that. Joe is from Independence, Iowa.
For our listeners who are not familiar with the Youth Sports Foundation, we're in over 138 communities in the Midwest. For somebody who doesn't have the background of knowing about us, what does a regional director do?
So that's a great question, Aaron. A regional director is kind of our link to the community. So we go into a community, we get a parent who says, hey, we want YSF in our town, and we come in, and that person is what's considered the coordinator. So they're going to kind of coordinate things in the town. And then from there, they will be given a regional director who will oversee them and get them equipment, take care of parent needs, registration needs, kind of like holding their hand for the program. So that's kind of what a regional director does in a very short answer. They are the eyes and the ears for us in that community. And there is Mr. Joe Payne, who just joined us. Joe, welcome. Welcome. How's it going today? Can I ask that?
It's going very well. The weather's finally turning nice. The Super Bowl's over with, so we're good to go now with youth football.
Joe, you said the Super Bowl's over. Were you happy with the game? Or
You know what? It was kind of a fun game to watch, yes. It was good to see two new teams in there. So
I wouldn't call New England a new team.
Well, they've been out of it for quite some time, so.
I got some questions for you, man.
Okay.
Are you ready?
You betcha.
In our first episode, Joe, we talked a lot about the YSF mission. And how do you see the mission play out in your day-to-day work with the Youth Sports Foundation and the communities that you deal with?
Well, I mean, with me interacting with my communities on a day-to-day basis, obviously that's the first thing that we talk about is basically who the YSF is and what we stand for and exactly who we're doing this for, which is the kids. So the mission statement, I think, hits home for everybody that I deal with.
So, Joe, you work very closely with communities, lots of different ones. How would you describe the Youth Sports Foundation way to a new town? Say somebody wants to come on. What's your spiel for them?
Well, I guess the first thing is the communication part. Usually how it works is we deal with one person and from there it grows. The comfort level, you get into the community and they have a parents meeting / coaches meeting. You're able to explain the program. And like we had talked about on our mission statement, once you're able to get into the town, talk to the people, they start feeling comfortable with you. That's kind of how it all starts out. But typically it starts with one person and they want to know what our program is and what it stands for. And then they basically push it on from there. And then we're able to get into the town and have the conversation.
So, for somebody who's brand new, hey, I want to start a program in my community, what would you say?
The first thing I would ask is, do you currently have a program? That's what a lot of it is. And if they have a program, typically if they're out looking for a different program, they're not happy with who they're dealing with. I've
Gotcha.
had that happen before. I've had other communities that's never had it before that may have joined, had kids that have played with other schools, other communities, and they basically just wanted to start their own program. So we open up the line of communication that way, and then we go into basically the YSF and what we stand for. We talk about everything from the rules to the cost, what we can bring to the community, and everything is positive from there on out. So typically, if we can get that much out of our mouth without them hanging up on us, there's a good chance that they're going to join with us. If we're able to get into the community, we're pretty much shoo-in to get in because we offer such a great program.
And what does
Confidence.
YSF provide to those
The Y-
communities?
So the YSF provides the biggest thing that I make sure that they're aware of is obviously the equipment end of it. A new community will get all new equipment, brand new, never been used. The biggest thing that people don't think about is insurance. I make sure that that's a big thing that I bring up. There are actually programs out there that I know that are running without insurance. So we offer insurance for players, coaches, anybody at the football game. We offer stipends for the officials, and we basically get them hooked up with USA Football. So a lot of these new communities, once they're starting it, obviously they have no idea, or they're not quite sure on how everything works.
Right.
By being USA certified, that helps them with a lot of stuff with like practice plans. It helps them with tackling stuff like that. So we basically we're kind of like a one-stop shop. I mean, I've been known to go out to practice and help people. We also take care of if there are issues in the community, whether that be a coach, whether that be a parent or whatever. We're called upon to take care of those issues. So that helps out a lot because in these small communities, everybody knows everybody.
Sure.
So
Takes
we take
pressure
care of them.
off and lets them
Absolutely.
get the kids playing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Joe, you guys do, like I was telling Aaron, I think before you came on, kind of our connection to the community. What do you think people misunderstand most about a regional director and what you actually do? And I'd like to hear this as your boss. I like to hear what you do.
When people hear that the games are finished in October, they think that we take a 4-month break, but we don't.
You do not.
We are constantly out talking to our communities. At that time, we're trying to pick up new communities. And that does help a lot. And then also we're doing a lot of clinics to make ourselves better to help our communities and our business. So we do a lot of clinics, but staying in contact with our existing communities is probably the biggest thing. Making sure that they're comfortable, what they need for the upcoming year, what they're expecting for kids. There's just so much that goes into inventory and stuff like that. That I mean, we're working pretty consistent.
Yeah, you are. I was going to say, when you look at when the season ends, it doesn't really end like that season ended, but we start right in. I mean, we end and we go help to state tournament, which is, a couple days. Then we're having meetings, budget meeting. We're going over that budget, equipment budget left and right with you guys. Inputs. What do we need? What do we want to spend? What can we spend? What vendors? We're meeting with vendors all along. You guys are. Plus, like I said, you're out getting new coaches. You're getting more educated yourself. But then you're cleaning up what last year was and getting stuff ready and new for this year. And you guys do not get any vacation from about the middle of July until after the season because that's busy time. So sometimes you might take a week vacation in that 2-month period before January. But yeah, you guys stay busy. I think a lot of people think you're done and it's over with, and you're not. So
Well, and what people have to understand, what especially our coordinators in our towns have to understand is when we have that week off, we technically don't have that week off. We still accept phone calls because,
100%.
we like them to call the office, but typically the questions that they're asking, it can only be answered by their regional director because we are in such close contact with them. So we already know the situation that they're dealing with. So it makes it a lot easier for them just to basically come to us.
Yeah, yeah. Good answer. We'll keep you around another year, Joe.
Oh,
So
okay,
that
good.
that leads me into my next question. So Joe, you've been a coach and you're a regional director. You kind of spoke to this earlier about other programs and then people wanting to switch and have the Youth Sports Foundation. What makes Youth Sports Foundation programs different than others?
Well, I think the biggest thing is consistency. And I think it's just our program is run straight from Nebraska all the way to Wisconsin. What I mean by that is the rules stay the same. The rules are no different as up north and down south. Everything stays the same. And people love that because they're able to go and play other YSF teams that may not be in their conference. And they
True.
know that they're going to be playing the same rules. That's probably the biggest thing, to be honest with you, is the consistency of the YSF and what we stand for.
Awesome.
So, Joe, what's one thing that you wish more parents understood about youth sports coaches?
Well,
Like go ahead.
yeah, I get where you're coming from, and I'm going to talk on the football end of it, obviously, because I've been doing this for so long. Expectations is probably the biggest thing that I could say about parents. And what I mean by that is I run a lot of parents meetings, not just only here in my town of Independence, but throughout the state of Iowa, because especially with the newer towns, I'll go and I'll speak to the parents. And what I do tell them is do not put a lot of stock into what you see on the field on that first week because I've said this 100 times. It's going to be a 180-degree turnaround in week 6 than what it was in week 1. We want these kids to have fun, but you also want to make sure that you're training them and doing it the right way. And the only way you can do that is starting at ground level with most of these kids. So
Oh,
some of them are
100.
timid and scared. So take basically the first 2 weeks and throw those away. Look at that last week. And when you get done with the season, you're going to look back and you're going to be happy for the situation. The other thing that I would say with parents is let the coaches be coaches. And what I mean by that is it's tough to let the reins go sometimes from your sons, your kids, your daughters, but the coaches are there for a reason. They are trained by the YSF and really know what they're doing. So you got to trust the process. And the sooner that you can let that go, the better off you're going to be.
Okay. Yeah, I would
I
agree.
agree.
I think all of our coaches take a lot of pride in coaching,
Absolutely.
especially at the football level. I think, I mean, my kids have been out of sports forever, but what I'm seeing from our YSF coaches, and they're the only ones I can really judge. They go to clinics, they do education online with USA Football. We talk to them. They really want to make the experience for the kids a good one, and we preach all the time. It takes nothing to knock it down. All it takes is one bad coach, and you could have a program that's been around for 10 years. One bad coach, it's gone. So we preach
Absolutely.
that, and I think they do a great job. So yeah.
So, Joe, I want to follow up with a question then from a parent lens. Say I'm new as a parent to the youth sports area. I've got a kid and I'm not sure about, I don't know if this coach is being fair. Or I don't know. What should I do as a parent to take it through the right chain of command and respectfully submit my, concern?
Basically, the way that we would call this an incident report. Okay. So we have an accident and incident report that can be filed through the YSF. So the way that the chain of command works is basically if a parent has a problem or has an issue with a coach or with playing time or whatever that might be, the first thing is talk to the coach. And don't have the kid around there. You
Sure.
want to know exactly what the coach is thinking, and it might be from the kid's standpoint or it might be from the coach. You never know. If you do not get the answers that you're looking for, then you go to the town coordinator. And if the town coordinator, probably if it makes it to the town coordinator, 75% of the time it's going to get to me. So what we'll do at that time then is I will actually go out to the town. I will bring the coordinator, the coach, and the parents. And at that time, I'll have the kid also stand in with us because one of the biggest issues that I think I've seen that I've heard in the last 15 years that I've been doing this is playing time. And I would say at least half that time that stems from the kid not wanting to play.
Um,
And that goes back to maybe they're not ready for it, or maybe football's just not their sport. They're not a contact person. But what I have figured out is it's really basically what you want to do is you want to get that group together so everybody's kind of speaking the same language. So No offense, your son or your daughter is not coming home and telling you one thing, the coach is telling another thing. This way, everybody's on the same page. But that's probably the biggest thing is it comes down to playing time. And like I said, if it gets to the coordinator, especially if it's a newer coordinator, which, you see a lot of turnover in coordinators, maybe every 2, 3 years, whatever it might be, they might be inexperienced at it. And once again, it goes back to they may be friends with the parents. So that's when I get called in. We try and keep it as simple as possible. Get them together, have that conversation, figure out exactly what's going on. And I've had it where coaches, have not played a kid maybe because they don't like him. I mean, that's been in the past. But we just want to make sure that we get that out, air it all out so it doesn't plague the team.
Love it. So that really talks about our three things that are fun, fundamentals, and opportunity. So Joe, I think you did a really good job explaining that. We want to make sure that it remains fun for the kid. And if they're not ready yet, we don't want to push them as parents, as coaches. We want to make sure that it's something where they get to try it out, right?
Absolutely.
And without pressure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I tell my parents and what I tell the kids at any school that I go to is I want these kids to leave that last game, that sixth game, and I want them to say, my God, I can't wait till next year. You want them to be excited about football. The ones that walk away and say, man, I've hated my experience, because of playing time, or I just don't like football. You don't like to see that. What you're trying to do is build a culture. You're trying to build a team, not only for now, but when they get into junior high and also into high school. So
right. Let's transition to what's your favorite U Sports Foundation moment from last season or from any season, really? Some that you really think sticks out for the U Sports Foundation?
Well, it's okay. So I'm going to go back 15, probably 20 years ago. And this isn't really a YSF experience. This is more of a coaching. I had a boy that played for me and his dad was in the service. So his mom showed up at every game. She videotaped every game. She would send the tapes to him and he'd watch them and everything.
That's awesome.
What he wasn't talented, but we made sure he always got into the game. He was always doing something because he loved the game of football. And we were playing a pretty good team. They had a running back that broke around the outside, and this kid was playing out at cornerback. And I'm like, oh, this ain't good. And the kid made an open field tackle. He has never tackled before in practice or anything like that. And it was the most amazing thing. Everybody erupted because they knew what the mom was going through. They knew about the dad. And it always brings chills to me whenever I think about it. But what I do tell people is the one thing that you can take away from this 20 years down the road, if you have a kid that walks up to you who is now in their 20s to 30s and they say, hey, coach, that was a great experience for me when I was playing youth football. That is the highest compliment you're ever going to get. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, it was awesome.
Love it. I'm going to ask you another question. What's been your funniest or most chaotic moment coaching youth sports?
I don't know if it was so much me coaching, but the experience that we had a fumble-rooski call, and basically the ball was just fumbled all over the field. Nobody wanted to pick it up. Finally, they picked it up, and the kid ran to the wrong end zone. And he's standing there. He's so happy. But yeah, he scored the other end zone. So that was probably one of the funniest ones that I've ever been involved with.
Okay. It looks like Jim's not going to be able to join us for the rest of this, which is funny because last week that happened to me with River crying in the middle of the podcast. So we're just going with it, just like any good youth sports event, right? You just go with it.
You just keep going no matter what.
So thank you so much for sharing that funny moment with us. I know Jim wanted to ask you this, and he's not able to do that right now. So I will ask, how has being a dad, how did that change your mindset about youth sports?
Well, I've always been involved with youth sports. So I come from a blended family. So I have 2 older boys that I adopted. So I've always kind of been involved with sports. So this is a tough question for me. I played all my sports in high school. I played a little bit in college, not a whole lot. But I've always been involved with youth sports. When my daughter came up, I coached her all the way through softball, through the Little League. And then we basically started Independence Youth Football in Independence because my son was a 5th grader. So I was actually funny story. I was actually out of town for work My wife went to the meeting and I got home from out of town and I said, "So how'd it go?" And she's like, "Well, you're the coordinator and the coach." And I'm like,
What?
"What's a coordinator?" Yeah, yeah. So
No way.
I ended up being the coordinator and the coach, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I, I, I understand when people join the YSF. Sometimes they think it might be overwhelming.
Sure.
It's only as overwhelming as what you make it, because we make it as easy as possible. Yeah, that was quite the experience. So
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it. Joe, I had no idea that is your U Sports Foundation origin story. I love that.
yeah, yeah,
That's super
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So if you ever have questions about coordinating, he's your man, really, from the ground up. Love it. Is there anything else, Joe, that you don't feel like we touched on?
Whatever we can do to help you guys out, we're more than willing.
Love it.
Basically, what I would tell parents and what I would tell the new coaches that are come in with an open mind.
Yeah. So that was Joe Payne, one of our regional directors here at the Youth Sports Foundation. Remember that we are out of the Midwest. We started in Muscatine, Iowa, and now we are in over 138 communities. If you want to stay connected to us, you can follow the Youth Sports Foundation on Facebook and Instagram at Youth Sports Foundation, and you can check out our YouTube channel for full episodes and clips. Thanks for listening. That's From the Sidelines. We'll see you next time.